Now I've already established a lot on the previous video, but now we're going to go one step further and we're going to analyze this a little more scientifically. If somebody were to fake something like this, by far the hardest thing to fake would be the shadows, because light is very precise, and trying to get the light correct and have it be mathematically precise is almost impossible to do. Not impossible, but almost. But we're going to take this and we're going to raise the complexity level up now by about 10,000 fold through the lighting. And I'm going to show that this video is real through the lighting, more scientifically. There is a light source coming from this pole, and it's up here and it's facing down, probably towards the middle of the street here, or possibly a little bit closer, like right here, facing down. There's another light source right here. It's doing the same thing to light up the street. There's a third light source here on this corner over here, and it is probably doing the same thing as these are, facing down. There does not appear at all to be a light source on the right hand side over here. So there are only 3 light sources for this intersection. We can see these light sources through the shadows. This light source is giving light over here, and it's reflecting on this pole and making a shadow. This one is doing the same thing over here and making this one have a shadow. Now what we're going to do is we're going to track the lighting and the shadows all the way through this video to establish them and to make sure that they are correct with respect to the light sources. And I have found a specific place within this scene that will prove that this scene is real with respect to the light sources and with respect to the shadow. And I've also found another little surprise that I'm going to show you. It doesn't have to do with the light sources, but it's another surprise to show you, and some evidence. Okay, so let's go ahead and play, and we'll start tracking the light sources. Now I want you to notice one thing before we proceed forward. I want you to take a good look at this shadow here. Okay? Notice the way it looks. On this YouTube video, you should be able to go to the lower right hand corner, and you should be able to press a little button there on the far right, which will make it go full screen. So if you're not looking at this full screen, you should look at it now in full screen so that you can see this as large as possible. You can also increase the 2 buttons over from the right, the far right. You can increase the resolution to HD, or as high as it will go. Notice in this shadow right here that here the shadow is darker than the shadow here. Okay? The shadow here is lighter than the shadow here. The reason for this is all about lighting and the dynamics of lighting, but basically the light isn't strong enough to create the shadow darker. If the light was stronger, the shadow would be darker all the way across. The stronger the light, the more the shadow. If there was no light, there would be no shadow at all. A little bit of light, maybe hardly any shadow is visible. The more the light, the stronger the shadow. So as you're getting further away from this light source, the shadow is getting weaker. It all has to do with some angles and things like that too, but as a general rule, this is true. Now you're going to see through this scene that it proves that this shadow proves that this is all real. This is all happening in a real reality. Let's go forward in time. Okay, stop it right there. Notice the shadow is still light. Okay? Let's move forward in time and I'll... Notice this shadow is still light. Now here comes the white flash. Look at the shadow now. The more the light, the more the shadow. See that? Not only that, but it lights up the whole entire area. You'll notice that there's more light up against this little wall. More light back here. More light up here. More light on the sidewalk. More light over here. It lights up the whole entire area. Watch it again. See how dark it looks? Let me go back. See how dark it looks everywhere? Now watch when the light comes in. This flash of light is going to light up everything. And the shadows all obey the same dynamics. It's lighting up this whole entire area. Okay, now watch this. There's a light again, and it's still creating that shadow. Yet there's less light in the whole entire area because this big light is gone. This smaller light is here. Now watch this. This thing here, and certainly him and his hands, are obviously giving off some light. Not as much. It's not dark over here again. But it is giving off some. Instead of taking a look at his hands, take a look at his face. And you will see he has white eyes or a white face as well. See it right there? Did he go forward? See it right there? White face. There it is again. Like his eyes right there flash. And there it is again, right there. See that? White face. Right there. So it's not just the hands, but it's also the face. Possibly the feet, too. Look at the feet. Even his feet are white. His feet are white, his hands are white, and his face is white. Okay, now watch. When he walks off, look at the light again. The shadow. It's back to where it was. It's all back to exactly where it was in the beginning. And then we'll back up. Watch the shadow over to the far right. Watch the shadow. Now watch the light just on both sides of the street. Look how it lights up everything. The light is even reflecting off of the wall over there because it's lighting everything up. And then that one does too. See this one? As this light is there, you have a light source right there now. It's reflecting off the wall. This light source is now gone. This light source is reflecting off of this wall and over here. Look at it when it's not there. Still there. Trying to back up a little bit here. Okay, it's not there, but that one's there, so I got to come forward a little bit. That one's still there. Okay, right about there. The light source is not there yet, and then when it comes in, it lights everything up. See that? Watch it go down and watch it go up. Light source is not as strong as the first one, but it's still there, and it goes on both sides of the street. Left side of the street over there to the left, and the right side of the street. Look at the light. Darker, lights everything up. Lights everything up on both sides of the street. You can see it reflecting off of the wall here, and off of the wall, and on the pavement. It's reflecting some of the light. And you can see this other shadow also changing as the light lights up. See that? The difficulty level in trying to fake that would just be astronomical. Because one little mistake will give you away. And I can see no mistakes. None. Not one. Everything is just the way it should be, perfectly. Which shows that this is real. The shadow is 100% giving this away as being 100% real, because all the light is being focused on the street, in the middle of the street. All the light is within the middle of the street, or here, okay, and then being lit up right here in the middle. That's why it's casting a shadow, because this one's lighting up this way, this one's lighting up this way, and then there's no light here and no light here, which is creating the shadow. Because light from over here is coming over here and lighting up the sidewalk, but there's no light over here. If there was light over here, there would be no shadow. That's why we're seeing a shadow. That right there, the complexity of it is so complex. Nobody would go out of their way to fake something like that, because it would make it too complex and make it a much simpler job than that very easily. So that's why you're seeing a shadow over here. And when you see the light source, it's completely consistent with the shadow. Let me show you. See, like right there. It's completely consistent, because that's exactly what would happen. This light is being reflected onto the pavement, right? But since this thing is getting in the way between the light and it's casting the shadow. And all the light is in the middle of the screen. That's why it's casting the shadow, middle of the road. Same thing with over here. You'll see over on this one, the shadow also changes as the light source comes in. Watch the left-hand side. See that? And it changes with the light. And then that light lights up all the pavement but casts the shadow. And the reason why it's still the same is because if this was the only light source, it would cast a different shadow. But since there's light everywhere, it's casting the shadow that the majority of the light is coming from. Is that amazing or what? So you can just prove through the use of the shadows how it's real. Or you could disprove it through the use of the shadows. Now you can see here, we can also establish the truck comes down, the light source is right there. It's coming down right there, or it's possible that it could be here. You'll see that the truck is casting a shadow from this light over here on our corner over here to the left. You'll see that, see the shadow right there? It's coming from this light source. And then we can establish the light sources when the guy gets out. There's 3 of them right there. This shadow is coming from this light source. This shadow is coming from this light source. There's no shadow over here coming on the lower right hand corner. There's just one here. There's one over here. And there's one over here. All 3 corners. This shadow is being being cast on this person. I mean this light source here. The reason why you don't see one from over here is because the light isn't strong enough. It's the same phenomenon that's happening over here. The stronger the light is going to cast the shadow. This person is standing right in the middle of the street. So for a short period of time, he casts all 3 shadows. Because while he's standing here, momentarily for just a few seconds, all 3 of the light sources are at roughly an equal distance to each other, casting shadows. As he changes and differs in position, see, he no longer casts this one. Why? Because he's too far away from this light source over here, and he's getting closer to these 2 light sources. So only these 2 light sources will cast his shadow. You see that? As he gets too far away from this lower left-hand corner, it disappears. Watch, let's go back. Now what's he doing? He's getting closer as he moves backward to this one over here, temporarily making himself equal in all 3 of these. So we can also establish that he's in the middle of the street roughly, or at least with respect to the light sources. Now he moves closer, and this light source is too far away now to cast a shadow. And you can see the light sources follow him. Now this one is getting stronger because he's moving closer to that one. This one is getting weaker because he's moving away from it. So the shadow stops casting. You see that? That's the phenomenon I was just talking about over here. Is whatever most light is, I don't know the technical term for it. There is, but I don't know what it is. But let's just use logic. Whatever the strongest light is, that's what's going to cast the shadow, not a weak light. So you see a real-life representation of that right there. As he gets further away, this one no longer casts anymore. So as you can see, this is all real. There's nothing fake about it, because even the light sources themselves are all consistent with everything that is occurring in the scene. To fake that would be astronomically difficult. Keep in mind, this is also a cam on a public road system, that not just anybody could put up a cam up there. Okay? So that also gives this video further accreditation to being real. But that's weak evidence in comparison to what I just showed you, the shadows. The shadows give it away that this is a real scene and everything is really happening. That light source that happened here really did happen via the shadows. That light source that happened right here really did happen via the shadows. Everything is 100% real and is proven with the use of the shadows. But I also proved it with the use of his skid marks right there, this guy's hands glowing, and his reaction, and that he was turning and locking up the brakes, trying to miss something. The residual effect here and the residual effect here from the plasma. What you are witnessing is... See, there's a lot of stuff that happens like this all around the world. Probably a lot in the United States. And it's just covered up. They know about it, and they cover it up. This one happens to be leaked from China. And that's why we're hearing about it. Because they're not as controlled over there. This is something that could get out. Over here, a lot less likely to ever happen, because everything is so controlled. So there you have it, a little evidence for you that this is real based upon the shadows and the light sources. I will be back with more videos and more analysis of videos.